Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Jessica Mejia. I am the secondary math coordinator here at the LA County Office of Ed, and I will be walking you through the SCORE training for this year. And again, we just want to make sure to say and express how grateful we are that you have volunteered to score the tasks that our beautiful students will be completing during our math field day. So again, thank you very much. And with that, we will get started. All right. So our objectives for this training is just to understand the responsibilities of the scorer and become familiarized with what the work is going to look like during the math field day for you in this role. Our agenda is broken up into 4 parts: a quick description of math field day and your duties and qualifications, the arrival at math field day and what that will look like for you, and what you will be doing during round 1, 2, 3, and some quick notes to keep in mind. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or to anyone else in the unit. And here is our email, math@lakewood.edu. We are happy to answer any questions. So let's get started with part 1. So for part 1 of this training is just a quick recap of what Math Field Day is and what it looks like. So it's just a general description of the event. So for those that have already been to the event, you will be familiar with this information. But if you're completely new to this role, or the event, this is very important information. So we will be having 8 different grade levels at the event: 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And there are 3 rounds of the competition for Math Field Day. The first round and the second round are both team competitions, and they are around conceptual understanding and problem solving. And the last round of the competition is an individual competition, and it's around procedural skills. Each round is 30 minutes, and there are 4 different students in each team. And again, we rely on volunteers like you to make this beautiful Math Field Day happen, because without you, we would not be able to have this competition. So thank you again. Here is a quick tentative agenda or schedule of what our day is going to look like for Math Field Day. So we start registration around at 7:30. We will have our registration tables open. And in the registration table, we would want the coordinator or the coach overseeing the team, the big team, to come and pick up the coach's packet or the registration packet. And in that registration packet, you'll have a copy of the schedule, participation medals, team name tags, and all that good stuff. Then we are going to head over to a morning assembly over to the auditorium for our students from 8 to 8:35. And during the morning assembly, we are going to be having the proctor training and the scorer training, which will be during the same time. Proctor training, Deb will be overseeing this, and the scorer training, it'll be me, myself, and John who will be overseeing this. But the goal is to get us all acquainted with the work, and so that we can get started in the work. After the auditorium or the morning assembly, we will transition to the classrooms, and hopefully everybody will have their name tags. Everybody will know where their classrooms are at. And there's 10 minutes for this to happen. So there's some time allotted for this transition. And then after this transition, then we give some time for the proctor, which is our test administrators. They will give a little review of what the schedule looks like to the students, and make sure that they're all ready to get started. So round 1 starts at 8:50, and then we have break, then round 2, then break, and then last but not least, round 3. So the competition should be over around 10:45. 10:45. After the last round, then we do have an hour allocated for Mathcella. So this is our new piece to our math field day. So we're very excited to have some joy in mathematics through games, through puzzles. And so this is going to be in the MPR, and everyone is welcome, parents, students, volunteers, and that'll run all the way to 11:45. And then at around 11:45, or let's say 11:55, we should all be back in the auditorium for our award ceremony and recognition. Here is a quick campus map for you all, for all of us that are all bright visual learners. So if you are at any time lost or don't know where something is located, you can always refer back to this map. You can see the bus parking, the visitor parking, and staff and exhibitor parking. And you can also see the different buildings that the class competitions will be taking place. It's building A, MS, and E. At the library, we'll have our scorers and our scorer training. And the NPR will have Mathcella, and the auditorium will have our assembly and all that good stuff. And it is also linked so you can go directly from the PowerPoint into the map as well. All right, so how did I end up here? So some of us might not know how we ended up being a scorer, but every grade upon registration registers a volunteer, either for one of the three positions, either a proctor, scorer, or general volunteer. If a selection was not made, then we would select for them, depending on what area of need we have. Sometimes we have more proctors than scorers. Sometimes we have more volunteers. And so the two things to do note is that to be a proctor and a scorer, you do need to be certified. You need credentialed. You have to have a credential for either single subject or multi-subject. So we prioritize those roles because sometimes we don't have enough, if that makes sense. So sometimes, even though you selected to be a specific role, sometimes we have to switch over the role depending on what the need is during the day. All right, so what are your responsibilities as a scorer? So as a scorer, you have a couple of responsibilities, and the main responsibility is scoring the task, right? So students will submit tasks, and so it is our job as scorers to determine who will be receiving the bronze, the silver, the gold medals, and ultimately the team trophy, right? And so in order to be a scorer, again, like I mentioned earlier, you need to be credentialed, either multi-subject or single subject, have an understanding of what the standards are for mathematics, right? The content standards and the standards of mathematical practice. And also have an understanding of how students may think about a task. Sometimes students may think about a task in different forms. So having that multi-representation understanding is very important. And also the pedagogical delivery of the content and acquisition to support making sense of what students have shared on their task solution keys. All right. And so with that, we'll transition into part 2 of our training. And so arrival at Math Field Day and what that looks like. So when you arrive on campus, which is St. Gabriel High School, you want to make sure that you check in with your district coordinator or your coach, whoever's in charge of your the district that you're here with. And they will be the ones to check in all of the grade level teams. So we just want one person checking in the grade level teams per district, if that makes sense. If you are the coach, then you be sure to check your coach's packet. You have map of the campus, the list of volunteers and where you will go, schedule for the day, and so forth. And then we want to make sure we escort our students to the General Assembly area, which is the auditorium, so that we may get started in around 8 a.m. And then for you as a scorer, your scorers want to go to the scoring room, which is the library, by 8 a.m. or any volunteers that are scorers in your list. You will also not need to bring any other materials with you. We will be providing you with the tasks, the rubrics, and pens and so forth, and pencils. So when you arrive at the scoring room, you want to check in with either myself or John, who is with our team, who's going to be with me in the scoring room. You want to locate your grade level table. So there should be a table per grade level. And then you want to introduce yourself to all the other volunteers that are going to be scoring with you, discuss and identify who the lead scored or judge for your grade level will be. And once you have your lead scorer or your lead judge in your table, then the scoring room lead is often the one that makes sure that you have the task, and they will also provide you with a rubric, and this is usually John. And so if you have any questions about the content of the task, please direct your questions to him, to the scoring room lead, which is usually John. And also please understand that you will be in the scoring room for a while, right? Because we want to make sure that we score all the tasks before we leave the room. And so bring, if you need water or whatever it is that we will have some aside, but you're welcome to bring all this water, food, whatever it is you need. All right, so during round one, so what are scorers going to be doing during round one? So during round one is, I think, the most important round for the scorers, because this is the round where you get an opportunity to really, come into a consensus with your scoring team. So it is important that everyone in your scoring team are calibrated in thinking, right? If we are looking at this task and we're giving a point for this, 2 points for that, what is it that we are going to be looking for? And what are we accepting, right? And so this is where you want to ask clarification questions about the task to the task writers or to John. And then also it will be up to this team of scoring judges to determine placement of medals and the trophies. So it's important that we score calibrated, if that makes sense. If you are hesitant about any of these responsibilities, please know that we understand. But if we do not have enough scoring judges, then we won't be able to determine our winners. So this is an excellent opportunity for you to also understand how the state expects students to be working in math tasks, especially with the communication and the standards of mathematical practice. You will be responsible for scoring the tasks from round 1 and round 2. So all the team tasks, those are the ones that we want to score, right? And one of these rounds will include the use of manipulatives. We're trying to make sure that any manipulatives are on the page itself as visuals, but sometimes we also provide extra manipulatives if necessary. So the scoring room lead will distribute the task 1 for you to begin working on. If manipulatives are used, then they will also provide you with the manipulatives. Each scoring volunteer will work to solve the task given individually. These tasks are the same tasks that your students are working on. Upon completion of the task, you and your scoring team will calibrate with your responses with each other. So we will share our responses with each other. And then it will be at this time that the scoring room lead will distribute the scoring rubric to help your team refine how you will score the task when they begin to come in. And then task 2 will then be given to you and the process begins again. So it's similar process for task 1 and 2 around calibration and working out the problem independently, calibrating, and then looking at the rubric and then identifying, okay, this is how we're going to score the task. So in rounds 2 and 3, this is where most of the scoring will begin. So overall scoring directions. So 2 scoring volunteers will work on the same paper submitted task. Upon completion, initial the completed document. There is no fractional scoring. So this is very important. You're only scoring with complete points, whole number points, if that makes sense. If there is a discrepancy in scoring, the scoring lead in the group will make the final decision. Upon completion of the scoring of tasks, the lead scoring judge will submit the task to the scoring room lead. This will be the scores entered to determine who the winners are going to be. So again, 2 scores grade the same task. More likely than not, the scores will be the same. If there is a discrepancy in the scores, then the scoring lead in your table will then make the final decision. Once all the tasks are graded, the lead of your scoring table or your grade level will submit the task scores to the scoring room lead, which is usually John, and then they will make sure to have those tasks submitted for input, for data input in the data input room. All right, some notes. So each task should be scored by 2 people, right? I just mentioned it. Avoid scoring your team's task. So try not to score your own team's task. In the event of a tie, the lead scoring judge in your group will break the tie. The tasks are progressive in nature. So if students are not able to answer the first part, students should not be able to answer the second part. If students cannot solve the second part, students will not be able to solve the third part, and so on. However, sometimes that is there are exceptions. So it's important to make sure we score every part accordingly. All right. And so the tasks are written in a progressive nature. So ideally, part 1 is usually around 1 point, part 2, 2, 3, and 4 for a total of 10 points. This may not always be the case, but if you have any clarifying questions, you can ask the scoring room lead. Round 1 is generally the scoring team's time to acclimate the task and calibrate thinking. And then during round 2 and 3, that's where the real scoring takes place, right? So that's where most of the scoring happens. Just please be patient with each other, use the task writers, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So this is our big aha. So just patience and asking clarifying questions if needed. And again, you are going to do awesome because you are here and you're volunteering, and we are very grateful for this. Other notes. Okay, so as the scoring team, you are making the final call. So LEGO will not intervene unless necessary when it comes to final decision. You make the final decision, right? Should there be any issues, you and your team will determine how you want to approach the solution or what are the solutions. This may involve the writing team as well. Once the decision is made, inform me or inform whoever is in the scoring room lead, so that they can be aware of what the issue was, what was the solutions, and what was the final decision made by the team. So once all of the tasks are scored, so upon completion of your task assignments, we ask that you just help with the cleanup. We will be in the library, so it won't be too messy or anything, but it's important to keep our space clean that we're sharing. And then once you have been given the permission to leave, then you may join students either in the STEM Math Festival, Mathcella, wherever it is that your team is at. You will then help to escort students back to the General Assembly area for the award ceremony. So we will be having our award ceremony in the auditorium. All right. And so with that, we'd like to, again, to thank you very much. Please feel free to reach out with any questions. If any information on this video was not clear, or if you have any other clarifying questions, thank you so much. And we would not be able to do this without you. And we're excited and we look forward to seeing you at Math Field Day this year.